Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. This is Brittany Jennings from the Seniors Blue Book, and today I am live. I'm standing outside, or am I, of Heron Club at Prestancia, and I'm joined by Alexis Ekberg. Hey, Alexis! I've been out here working out, doing jumping jacks and all sorts of things. You know, they say you're either going to come out with a six pack or you're going to come out with, a little extra weight after this quarantine.
Yeah, super. Well, meet me in the back by the lake when you're done.
How are you doing?
We're doing really good. We're doing really good, all things considered.
Absolutely. This has definitely been a time for learning and, for learning, but for obtaining some new like talents or skills or just relaxing. What are some of the things that you've been doing to pass the time when you're not at work?
Gosh, watching everybody else who's self-quarantining at home. No, just kidding. I think a lot of time is it's so easy to think about how things affect us, which truly they have, without a doubt. I think as much as we are trying to go on as things are normal, they are just not normal from our spouses, our partners, our children. But really, I think we think about everything in the terms of senior living, assisted living. What we offer and promote has really been challenging because communal dining now we're not able to offer. We're having to deliver meals in rooms, activities. You can't have groups more than 10 people. So we're really focusing on ways to get very creative here in the community. Actually, Heron Club, East, and House, in all three of our communities. Whenever I speak of one, I always advocate for my sister communities. And so we're really focusing on sharing ideas to still keep it fun for our residents because we get to go home, at least for right now. Although I've thought about many times about putting, like bringing in my comforter and my pillow the way that I work. My husband says you might as well just sleep there.
I bet.
At least I have the choice to go home to my family at the end of the day. And our residents, they're not so fortunate. So we're just really trying to do whatever we can to make it as fun and think outside the box and keep everybody active and busy.
Tell us a little bit about Heron Club. And I know things have changed a little bit with protocol for moving in new residents, but can you kind of touch on where you guys are located and the services that you offer within the community?
Girl, absolutely. So,
Girl.
that's my favorite part. We are located in South Sarasota, in Prestancia, right off of Sarasota Square Boulevard. On the other side, literally straight from Costco. When I say that, folks know exactly where to look. And
especially now.
Yes. We're a hidden gem. We're 73 apartments. We are assisted living and memory care. So we're 19 apartments in memory care. I still have one available, which I actually may not have after today. So memory care is keeping us busy. And then on assisted living side, we have 54. And we've been around in Sarasota for over 20 years. And I just love our community because it doesn't feel, you have a lot of new, this industry is quite competitive here in the Sarasota market, being a senior friendly community. So I tell folks we're an oldie but a goodie, and our room sizes are really generous. I think just at the time we were built, it was more a luxury versus, how many apartments can we get on a floor? Ours are very generous in size, so that's the benefit, I think, with older buildings. And I know we and our owners have done a fabulous job of maintaining the property. And just with grounds, the fact that we have a lake. This weekend we went, well, I can't take credit. My director of nursing, Rick, he actually took our residents out in the back and they caught some bass over the weekend.
That's awesome. I love that.
So it's just, I think where we're located, it really feels like apartment living, not what folks think, more on a clinical side or assisted living. I know we really try to make it more hospitality and resort style, but I think we can really deliver that the way that we are. And our care is phenomenal. The level of care is based on the assessment. We are operating under an LNS licensure, which I'm proud to say. In addition to that, our memory care is all inclusive. So, and I think that just is easier for our families and for us because we know memory care can be a challenge in itself. So it's just nice to know that they get all of their care needs taken care of in that one set price. So
What,
and
what
it allows folks to transition, age in place. Almost everybody that we get has some type of dementia, and then where we stand in 5 to 10 years, we don't know, but at least we do have the memory care to support that.
exactly? The whole community received a renovation. How long ago was it now?
That was May, June of 2019, so just under a year ago, so about 7, 8 months ago.
And one other thing that makes you unique, besides like you mentioned the lake and the nature part, which is gorgeous. Like when you're in the dining room, it's stunning. But you guys in the assisted living,
Mm-hmm.
oh sorry, dear. In the assisted living, you've also got porches, and as you can see behind me, that's also unique because a lot of communities don't, and I think a lot of people, especially in Florida, they love getting their vitamin D and having the option of just sitting outside. So I do love that as well about your community.
Oh yeah, no, honestly, and we almost, I would say most of our apartments have the balconies versus none. And then we have ample walking areas, the breezeway, and you mentioned the dining, which whenever folks see that, from the outside, we look like such a huge building, but one half of it really is that dining room. And then we have a fantastic activities room that overlooks that lake. So a lot of natural light. And like you said, the vitamin D, they love that. It just, I know how I am. I cannot stand to be without a lot of light.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's a Scandinavian thing where typically Scandinavians like a lot of natural light, but if it's dark, the energy is just not good for me. So I think our residents really light and bright. Yep. We also have a movie theater. We're going to have movie night tonight. Social distancing. You got to see.
Yep.
Kind of looks, but it doesn't look normal around here because now that we can't do the communal dining, and maybe it's something that I could even walk you guys around, because I can't take my iPad with me. And you would see that we made our dining room now. It's like a I don't know, a arcade, a fun house, if you will. We set up little stations for everybody to do something.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but our residents, we tell them about the social distancing, and we make sure that there's no more than 10 residents, less than 10 residents when we're doing those activities. So it's beautiful, but right now chairs are separated. The lounge chairs back on the lanai, we've had to separate just to keep them safe and make sure that we're practicing the social distancing.
And I brought up too, Alexis, I have, and you can't see it, but on my side, everybody that's watching can, I've brought up pictures of your residents and they're doing the FaceTiming with their family. Talk about that and what and I'll go through these pictures because they're really great of your residents with their families.
That's awesome. Yeah. So in our communities, we always encourage families to come and visit their friends and loved ones. And as things started, it seemed like every other day or every day we were getting new direction from the governor of Florida, Governor DeSantis, on what was allowed. And when we were told that there was no longer any visitation, that's just huge for our residents. So luckily, we have all this wonderful technology, and we have iPads throughout our community, and we set up an online sign up that we email to our families. Expressing, because it's hard for them too. And we set up what we call virtual family visitation. And, 15, 20 minutes, or sometimes it's just 5 minutes, where family members get to see their loved ones, or even just close friends that we're used to coming to visit, and check in and make sure that they're doing okay. And also too, I think it's great for our residents that they get to see those familiar faces that they were used to seeing. Some folks every day they have visitors. And the really neat thing about it too is there were some family members out of state that weren't visiting, and particularly on memory care, those residents don't have the smartphones and can't use the smartphones. So actually, it's really, we always say from bad comes good. It's really connected some of our families that hadn't seen their family members for years, just because they're, literally opposite ends of the earth apart. And when they got that link to do the family virtual visitation, they were seeing, mom and dad for the first time in, 3-4 years. And to see that joy that our residents had, and it was just kind of neat. So now that's something we're going to continue doing when this all passes, because it's just wonderful to be able to connect families in a way that I don't want to say we didn't think about it, but kind of we didn't, right? Because
Exactly.
folks go to the door. And, but for some families, it's a challenge. They have their own lives. If they're in California, this is not a close trip. Maybe they have their own health, concerns that doesn't allow for them to travel to visit mom, dad, or Aunt Susie. And now with the technology, we can do that. So
I know, I think you're spot on with that. I think like a lot of us, like we didn't think about, I think we are, not to say you get stuck in your ways, but this has kind of almost forced us to become a little more innovative and just take advantage of what we have. And I think it's incredible the new platforms we'll have for talking to families, residents and families. And I'm scrolling up on your guys' Facebook page and showing this April 1st. This is April Fools. Do you want to talk about this for a minute with what people are watching with the coins?
So that was funny. Our company, I always speak very highly of our company too. So they are, always say, hey, it's April Fools, you guys, try to do something fun in the community. So we're thinking, okay, what can we do fun that's not dangerous? And so me and my activities director got together and thought of the idea of let's hot glue down change on the floor by the elevator. So I ran with the glue gun and we put down some coins. And one of our maintenance assistants, Rick, I was like, Rick, I'm like, oh, is that your change? And he looks over there and I'm like, oh my goodness, before one of our residents, Paul, could you please get that?
Oh my gosh.
He goes over there so seriously, like bows down. Like it was just so
funny
of him on one knee, and he tries to pick up the coins and he got it. And then our executive director, Anna Howlett, who, Brittany, I'm so excited. You may have met her. She actually comes to us from our house location. She was our business office manager, and we just recently promoted her. I got her too. She was duped. I fooled her, and then as she went to go get it, she goes, "I know this is an April Fool's." We're laughing, but she wouldn't let me post the video.
Oh my gosh.
So we just had so much fun.
It reminds me of, so I got duped way back in the day, like in high school, which has now been like 15 years, weird to say. But literally the bell rang after school and I saw $1 on the ground, and there's tons of people walking, leaving the grounds. Well, the $1 was on the ground. It was kind of crumpled up. And so I went to go grab it, and then it blew away, right? And then I went to pick it up, and it kept getting away from me. And I'm like, it's not even windy. And then I look over, and these kids had like a fishing pole, and they were just reeling it in and playing jokes on people. And I felt so silly, but it was really funny.
Yeah.
The other thing I want you to talk about, and I'm going to minimize this again, is this gentleman here, Bill Rentschler. I hope I'm saying that right. Let's talk about this story because it's amazing.
So I get this call in the middle of the night. I don't know. It was like 9 o'clock at night. And of course I pick up my phone, right? What if someone needs something? So I pick up my cell phone, and this gentleman was so sweet. He had gone to the website, and he's the eldest of 25 cousins, and he learned how to sew from his grandmother. And he is 75 years old, grew up in Indiana, had gone through swine flu, polio, and he shared kind of, how this is such a time of, I think, where folks are feeling very uncertain and afraid. And he took his talent that is his very dear beloved grandmother that he grew up with had taught him to sew, being the eldest of 25 kids or grandchildren. And he put together all these scraps and made these wonderful, these are really beautiful quilts. And so he actually gifted us 2 of them. When he called me, he said, Alexis, he goes, do you have any residents that have no visitors or any family? And we know in some of our communities, we typically will at least have one, right? That's why they're with us, assisted living. And so he gifted us 2 quilts that 2 of our residents get the privilege of receiving. But not only that, if you look, there was a video where he started reading from this man is also too, not only is he gifted, seems don't know if you'd say seamstress, but he certainly knows how to sew. He wrote a beautiful story on him growing up as a child and having gone through polio and the Spanish flu, and that feeling of being afraid, but this too shall pass. And it was just such a, that blanket is such an encouragement of hope and not feeling alone. And
I love it.
It was just awesome. So I tell folks, go on our Facebook page and read Bill's story. And what I'm thinking to do too, because he says, Alexis, I ran out of scraps for sewing. And I said, listen, I mean, we have many of our residents where they donate their clothes, or some of them just, family members just getting rid of them. Where I told him, between our wonderful community, right, our senior community through SCAN or SAC, I mean, we have so many great communities that would love to donate, these scraps, he calls them, but they're, from T-shirts, whatever, and he cuts them and makes these beautiful quilts. So I told him, this is not the last. Yeah, we're going to keep him busy sewing because he thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh, it gives, I think all of us, just like you in your position, like we all want to feel like we have a purpose and that we're giving back and that we're doing something that's going to make a difference. And it gave me chills when we were talking about this before, and even now again, it gave me chills thinking about what he's doing to change. That can just change somebody's entire outlook when they're feeling alone right now, that somebody cared enough to make them a quilt, and especially this gentleman. So thank you so much for sharing that. So is there any other, let's talk really quickly before we kind of come off of the live video. How are you, when families are looking for a community, you are still accepting residents. What does that process look like? Are you doing a virtual tour like you mentioned, or how is that happening if people are interested?
Sure. So we are doing live virtual tours, either through Zoom or Facebook, whatever the family member or loved one is comfortable with. They would have to go through the mandatory quarantine process for 14 days. If they are coming from a hospital or some sort of rehab, then they are required to actually get tested twice. And I'm not so sure how they space them out. But I know in those 2 times they both have to be negative, and even that they still have to quarantine in their apartment. And that can be challenging too, because I know some communities have companion apartments, right? So then you have to make sure you have a place, if it's a companion, that they can self-quarantine, because obviously they can't go back to a shared apartment,
right?
Because they could still be at risk for carrying the virus. With the live tours, I think honestly, it's just, again, really, we have to adapt. We always talk about those that adapt and survive. And sometimes like this, you do have to adapt, because the need is still there for seniors, or, not seniors, but anyone really with a disability that needs to go into assisted living and memory care. And so we have to be able to still do whatever we can to provide that platform to make sure that we vet them and they vet us, and find the right community.
Absolutely.
So I think, we've already completed, just in the past week and a half, I've done 4 virtual live tours. And 2 of those actually we have future admissions from.
That's awesome.
So it works. And I think folks really appreciate that, because it gets a sense of that you're still wanting to help them. And I know in our industry, Brittany, we know everyone that we work with, they wear their hearts in their sleeves, and that's why we have the privilege of doing what we do every day, right? It's almost selfish when folks are saying thank you and you're like, no, thank you. It feels so good to be able to help.
It is a privilege.
So the need is still there, but just we're putting in all those protocols, as needed to protect our residents here.
I love it. Well, you guys are doing an amazing job. I know Deb was going to join us from Heron House. She was not able to do that this morning, but real quickly, just mention the 3 communities that Heron offers, and then I'll make sure to put all the information in the post as well for people that are watching.
Thank you. So we have there's 3 Herons together. Myself today being at the one that you're sitting right there. I see you.
Hey, Alexis.
And then we have our Heron House location off of Fruitville, and our Heron East location, which is assisted living only, and that one's off of Cattleman.
Awesome.
So, and what's great is when we're speaking to folks, we really, there's not a reason we can't help them between our 3 communities. And if for some reason we can't, again, we just refer them to another, one of our our associates or professional, providers out there, based on certain needs or availability.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate everything that you're doing and everybody that's working so hard in the community to keep your residents safe and to come up with all these creative new ways of bringing joy to their life, just like you were before. So thank you and everybody at your communities. And thanks for joining us and spending time with us this morning. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Brittany. I appreciate you. And I think we spoke about this too just before we got started. In our learning and just what to do now that we're having to go through our process differently. Something that really hit home in one of our webinars or that I had attended was, we're all isolated to some extent, and it's a really good time for us to sit back, and as we're doing our follow-ups with our family members or future residents and checking in on how they're doing. And this really hit home, and you said it gave you chills, so I thought I would just throw it out there. Now is a really good time for us to really connect with our future residents and let them know that we understand what they're going through and the isolation and not being able to leave home and not being able to socialize. So I think it's great to connect with our future residents and ask them, and share with them how we're feeling. And some things that they've done to either comfort them, or it's just it's really a good time to sit back and connect.
I think when you put it, and thank you so much for bringing that back up, because I did want to talk about that. For those of us that have worked in communities and we've worked with families one-on-one and we're on this side, right? We're saying to them, even though we're holding their hand through the process, that, I can understand what you're going through and, or you're trying to kind of relate. This is like essentially us only being able to leave our homes to go out and get essentials, just like, the aging population. They only, most of the time, leave their house. Maybe they might throw in church or something like that, but we're in that position where we should feel that vulnerability now. We can kind of, I think, relate a little bit more on that side. Again, we're a little bit different, obviously age-wise, but to not have that socialization and to kind of feel a little bit like, you're isolated to your home. It's such a good point to bring up, Alexis. So thanks for bringing that up.
No, absolutely. And now we have that time and opportunity. Just, our seniors or senior children, we really want to protect them. So we're even just following up to see, hey, do you guys need water? Can we pick up your prescription from the pharmacy to keep them home and safe, because they're, that demographic is at such high risk. So, again, good comes from bad, and we just learn to adapt and make use and make a difference with the time that we're given, that we were maybe so busy before, with all the opportunity we had, and now we just found ways to be more positive and help others out there and really make a difference.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again so much for joining us today, Alexis from Heron Club at Prestancia, and also representing Heron Club and Herron House. I'll make sure to put all the information in this post. If anybody has any questions about any of the communities, you can certainly reach out to Alexis, or I'll put, of course, the main numbers as well. So I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Monday.
I will, thank you, and meet me by the lake.
Yep, I'll see you in a minute. Let's go fishing. Except
great.
I won't touch the bait. Like if it's live bait, I need you to bait it for me. I'm just saying.
Oh, we got live worms.
I'm that kind of girl. I'll just need you to do that. All right, I'll see you soon, okay?
Sounds great. Thanks, Brittany. Bye, everyone.
Bye.